Hello and welcome to another edition of Bangladesh Today. I'm Smita Prakash. Today on the show, we have Lt.General S.K. Sinha, who after an illustrious career in the Indian Armed Forces, also served as Governor of Assam and Jammu and Kashmir. He has written extensively on the issue of illegal migration in India's northeastern states. Welcome to the show, General Sinha. General Sinha, before getting into the crux of the issue of illegal migration, I'd like to begin by going to the genesis of the problem. In 1998, you authored a report in which you talked about this greater Bangladesh movement, and which had its birth actually in 1947 when they talked about this territorial movement where the northeastern states of India were going to be part of this greater Bangladesh. You warned in 1998 that it's going to be a huge volcano of sorts. Do you think that as a territorial movement, Greater Bangladesh has fizzled out and it's now left as a political movement of sorts?
Well, in fact, you mentioned about the movement starting from 1947. I studied this in great detail, and I'd like to say that it started way back in 1903. Because that was the year when the All India Muslim League was formed, and at its inaugural session at Dhaka, a demand was made for a state to be called Bangladesh Islam. There was no talk of Pakistan at that time, and the Bangladesh Islam visualized partition of Bengal, with East Bengal and Assam, and in those Assam comprised the whole of Northeast, all the 7 states now, being made into one province, West Bengal and the rest of the erstwhile Bengal Presidency being another province.
So it wasn't a division on language, but on religion?
Primarily.
Okay.
And that is why all the nationalist parties of that time started this movement against partition of Bengal. It hit the people of West Bengal, the elite, who had their property in East Bengal, mostly agricultural land. And it hit the Assamese people, because Assam had become a separate province in late 19th century, and they were to lose their identity and become part of a Bangladesh Islam. That was the beginning of the trouble. And then you went on, initially, contending with a huge migration of population from Mymensingh area, which is now in Bangladesh, into Assam. And it was way back in 1930 or 32 when the census superintendent of Assam, a gentleman, British ICS officer called Mullen, he said, if you are not careful, Assam would lose its identity, and the Assamese people will be at home or feel at home only in North Assam, that is Tezpur, Dibrugarh area. The rest will be lost to them. And then, when provincial autonomy came, Sir Muhammad Sadullah became the Prime Minister of Assam. Before 1947, they were called Prime Ministers, and in 47 the designation was changed to Chief Minister. And Sadullah was from Muslim League. He had a big plan to bring people from present East Bangladesh or old East Pakistan into Assam to change the demography. And Lord Wavell, who was the Viceroy of India, in his book, Viceroy's Journal, has written that during the war there was a Grow More Food campaign. And what Sadaullah was doing in Assam was grow more Muslims. And when the grouping plan came in 1946, the Hindu majority states were in Group A, or provinces they called them, and Muslim majority provinces were in Group B. They also had a Group C, comprising of Bengal, a Muslim majority province, and Assam, a Hindu majority province. Both Congress and Muslim League initially accepted the grouping plan, and it was Bardoloi who raised the standard of revolt within the Congress.
He didn't accept it and said that's enough.
And he got the support of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was in Noakhali. That is how Assam didn't become part of that group, and had it become one, it would have been part of East Pakistan.
So if I was to fast forward it to current problems, now there are many who say that the problem lies because we never fenced the border with Bangladesh like we fenced it in the western sector with Pakistan. There was a problem also because on the ground being a riverine area, it is difficult to fence. But was it impossible to fence, or is it impossible to completely seal the border?
No, it is possible provided you have the political will. You see, what has happened, I mean, I've been involved with both. As Army Commander,
you fenced the western sector?
CNC Western Army. And the entire border
was sealed during your time.
And
yes.
It was done in a year plus, year and a half.
But sir, the terrain is different.
I know. But the most difficult terrain, far more difficult than in Assam, was in Kashmir.
LOC, that's right.
Now, I was governor there, and we fenced it 700 kilometers on the mountains in a year plus, where every bit of store had to be carried on mules or man-packed, and we completed it.
So was it also?
And in Assam, this so-called riverine border. Now, I have traveled, as I said, every kilometer of that border. You see, the total distance is only 269 kilometers.
But you know, the thing is that when you talk about the western border, you know, the army knows, the political establishment knows that you have a hostile person on the other side. So there is a political will as well as a strategic need to fence the border. When it comes to the eastern sector, it's still not seen with that kind of urgency that you need to seal the border, because strategically it's not all that important. You don't have a hostile neighbor there.
No, you see, that's the point. Initially, we had a hostile neighbor till 1971.
When Sheikh Hasina's, Mujibur Rahman.
When Mujibur Rahman came, for a short period, we didn't have a hostile neighbor. But that period is very small.
Then you got the army rule, and then you had Khalida Zia.
And you see, they were a hostile neighbor.
At that time, we should have taken the initiative.
No, even from 47 onwards, we should have been taking this initiative, which we didn't do.
Okay.
Now, today, Sheikh Hasina in her first term as Prime Minister was hamstrung. She didn't have a clear majority.
Right, this time she
did.
But
second time she has. And we have got a very friendly neighbor.
Right.
And in spite of that, we have not been able to do anything. I mean, talking of border movements, cross-border movement. Look at Rohingya Muslims in Burma or Myanmar. Sheikh Hasina has sealed her border in Chittagong area. And in spite of pressure from various groups, she says, no, we will not allow them to come in. They're a problem of Burma, they should be sorted out there. Now, we have allowed everyone a free run.
We talked about Sheikh Hasina's government. The foreign minister was here recently, Deepu Moni was here, and there are just two things that Sheikh Hasina's government needs to do. One is to deliver on Teesta, and the second one is on the land border agreement. Now, this is something that India has agreed on but is unable to deliver. And Sheikh Hasina needs to show to her people that she is not really an Indian agent, but having cooperated with India, she is able to deliver on these two things. But we are not able to get a political consensus. The BJP is not willing to play ball with the government on the LBA, and things just stand where they are.
I don't think the BJP is holding it. It's the weakness of the state government, of the central government. I mean, there's a policy paralysis. They can't execute. You are being dictated by chief ministers on matters of foreign policy. They're turning the constitution upside down. And Mamata Banerjee says no to Tista and Delhi cannot do anything. I mean, what sort of government is this?
There's no consensus in the political leadership about strategic matters, about foreign policy, you feel?
There's no attempt to develop a consensus. You have a cabal of power in this democracy which has dynastic rule and a feudal setup, and a weak government which cannot enforce the will of the government.
So as far as India-Bangladesh relations are concerned, it really now hinges on India being able to deliver these two things to Bangladesh. Do you feel that in the next couple of months that are left with the UPA government and with Sheikh Hasina's government, because both are going to in election mode, we will be able to sort this out and deliver to Bangladesh?
I have my grave doubts. You see, Lt.General was my Prime Minister with outside support. He didn't have my majority. But he could deliver on Farakka.
Yeah, on the Farakka barrage issue, that's right.
Why can't Manmohan Singh government do that? I can't understand. I mean, to them, national interests do not matter. What matters is to remain in power and continue with this corruption and what have you.
Do you think it's unrealistic to expect that major foreign policy initiative will be taken in the next couple of months?
It cannot be done now. We are all in election mood, and so far as the UPA government is concerned, they are only trying to survive by hook or crook, any way, and they are incapable of doing it.
Another question that I wanted to ask you was that do you think that India did the right thing by backing Sheikh Hasina to such an extent that we have almost or literally closed doors on Khaleda Zia?
You see, because I have got great regard
for Sheikh Hasina.
She is perhaps the only Muslim leader in a Muslim country who has taken such a bold and strong stand against Islamists.
And the war crimes trial.
Everything. I mean, look at the way she has handled things. Soon after she took over, the mutiny of the East Pakistan Rifles, very major thing. She hasn't succumbed. And these jihadis are creating a lot of trouble.
The Hifazat-e-Islam and the Jamaat-e-Islami.
Yeah, and she is holding on. And not only in India's interests, but in global interests, I feel all support should be given to Sheikh Hasina. And after all, the so-called superpower of yesterday, which is now declining, the USA, has created this problem. They have encouraged Islamists, and 9/11 happened and still they have not woken up. And today they are trying to get out of Afghanistan, save their honor and do anything. They can stoop to doing anything.
Thank you very much for speaking with us, General Sinha. Thank you very much. To the crux of the issue of illegal migration, I'd like to begin by going to the genesis of the problem. In 1998, you authored a report in which you talked about this greater Bangladesh movement, and which had its birth actually in 1947 when they talked about this territorial movement where the northeastern states of India were going to be part of this greater Bangladesh. You warned in 1998 that it's going to be a huge volcano of sorts. Do you think that as a territorial movement, greater Bangladesh has fizzled out and it's now left as a political movement of sorts?
Well, in fact, you mentioned about the movement starting from 1947.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Bangladesh Today. I'm Smita Prakash. Today on the show, we have Lt.General S.K. Sinha, who after an illustrious career in the Indian Armed Forces, also served as Governor of Assam and Jammu and Kashmir. He has written extensively on the issue of illegal migration in India's northeastern states. Welcome to the show, General Sinha. General Sinha, before getting into...
I studied this in great detail, and I'd like to say that it started way back in 1903, because that was the year when the All India Muslim League was formed, and at its inaugural session at Dhaka,